Let's review the Mid-Atlantic Christian School Association Educators Conference #2 that took place in Nutley, New Jersey last week.
This episode is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. And just as always, the comments, the ideas proposed in this episode are those of your hosts, not necessarily the Herzog Foundation. Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
I'm Mark Zockoll. I'm so thankful to not be waking up at 4 a.m. again for a ride to some other state to have and be a part of an educators conference, to pay to be a part of an educators conference.
We have done our time.
And far be it from me to say I don't enjoy them. Far be it from me to say that I don't appreciate them. We're going to go into why we appreciate them and that we do appreciate them so much, but I'm just very thankful that I don't have to see 4 a.m. for the purposes of getting up and being wide awake to drive into a major metropolitan area.
Anytime soon.
Yes, I am thankful for that. But that's where we found ourselves, waking up to drive to Nutley, New Jersey, which was around about a 4-hour drive from where we live. And in so doing, we were going to be presenting for our podcast at the Mid-Atlantic Christian School Association's second educators conference. There's a southern one, which is in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and there's a northern one there in Nutley, New Jersey. And from what we came to find out from Bill Stevens and the other administrators and teachers in their attendance, it wasn't quite what it had been in the past, but it was still quite significant. And when I say that, I mean by numbers or by those in attendance. And Mr. Bill Stevens, the director there at the Mid-Atlantic Christian School Association, which services 60-plus student schools, especially a lot of Mennonite schools there in that region from lower Pennsylvania up into New York and beyond. His drive, even when we first came on the podcast, his drive was to see people come together. We appreciate that, right?
Oh, yeah. I think it is needed just as much now as it ever has been. So yeah,
and perhaps even more so. We don't get to reference COVID for all of our problems, but we do reference COVID much for, historically speaking, what has brought us to where we are today. And he noted before COVID there was a bit of a drop off, but definitely after COVID there was a significant drop off in attendance in these events and whatnot. So he was very purposeful in trying to get the message out about more people coming. Now, I don't know, other than the general, this used to be larger, I don't know where the attendance level of this educators conference was stacked up against the last couple of years. But it was nice to walk in, and we didn't try to be there at the crack of dawn. We were there.
Yeah, we were the last table to sit up.
We were there as exhibitors, as a workshop leader, less so as attendees. And when we showed up, we stuck my head in the keynote address, which was being led by the head of the Dean of Theology, or the Dean of the School of Theology at Cairn University, and he was presenting on AI. My midnight reading, my bedtime reading, is currently on a history of open AI, so it is very interesting to me. I've really appreciated the opportunity to have to review that very interesting history of something going from a declared to be a transparent nonprofit to becoming a limited for-profit non-transparent entity. When you talk about something that is supposed to in ways replace humanity, and it just gets darker and darker from there. But anyway, not conspiracy theory. No. It was a Wall Street Journal reporter, but still very, very interesting. So he was presenting a keynote, which I was somewhat sorry to miss, but again, not so sorry that I was going to wake up a lot earlier than I was to get there, but definitely someone to have missed, not hearing. I would have liked to have been there for it. Okay. I'm done now. I'm gonna have a heart attack if I don't stop. But we got there, we set up, and we were able to, of course, greet those who were there. We were met with smiles. Oh. Right down that registration tables, we were met with smiles,
including the student government that was called upon of the school that was hosting, and that were very welcoming, very helpful in directing us where we needed to go or getting us what we needed to get.
This episode of the Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. As Christian educators, we know that liberty without truth is fragile, and truth starts with God. That's why the Herzog Foundation has launched the Faith and Freedom 250 campaign, an initiative that equips schools and families to connect the biblical roots of American freedom to the next generation. Having started on July 4th, 2025, and following through until July 3rd, 2026, Herzog is releasing short videos each Friday, highlighting voices from across the country, educators, leaders, parents, and everyday Americans, reflecting on key moments in our nation's history and the importance of commemorating 250 years of liberty. We all understand how faith has always been central to our country's founding and why it still matters today. It's an incredible way to integrate history, civics, and biblical worldview into your school's curriculum, especially as we approach America's 250th birthday in 2026. Visit herzogfoundation.com to view their free resources and get started today. And make sure to tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you.
Speaking of the school, we were able to see yet again another Christian school. This is Abundant Life Christian Academy in Nutley, New Jersey. And we might as well get into it now. The facility was unique. The facility
that is a very understated word.
We're going to just check into this chapter of our podcast right now. That the facility there was an incredible facility.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So the story was that when this place was purchased, that this place was purchased from a defense contractor. Of course, being there in that area, that makes sense. And the defense contractor was ITT. They were trying to sell the building for $9 million back in the late 90s. The church pursued it, but was not able to take on $9 million, and the company and the company and the city were not interested in having them in the building. So it basically was we're interested. We're not interested to sell to you. Okay, well, we're here.
Yeah.
Contact us if you ever have a change of heart. Well, guess what?
A big change of heart.
Big change of heart. They lost the defense contractor lost some contracts. It was necessary to maintain a space in the area, and called the church back up, offered them the building at $3 million.
A little bit of a discount, just a little one.
A little bit of a discount. So they offered a building for $3 million. This building, when we pulled up on this building, I said right away, this was not a school. I said, does this feel like a school to you? This was a building that was built. It was a giant, and I say giant, 3 stories high or so. The base was low, far lower. The basement would have been far lower than when you pulled in. You pulled in, kind of went downhill into the back area. But even above what was car level were a couple of stories. So a very significant building for a Christian school that we're thinking of. And not a lot of space definitely in a neighborhood. So there was a neighborhood almost fully surrounding it, and a nice neighborhood for the area, as we were told. And
if you stand on top of the building, you're looking at the New York City skyline. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Miss Chapman, who will wind up being the Christian Administrator Spotlight, noted to us that out of those buildings, she watched 9/11.
Yeah.
Out of those windows, she watched 9/11 until they closed the windows because of what was occurring. But still, incredible. So the church buys this property for $3 million, and they can proceed to make it into the church they wanted it to be. But because of the size of this building, that was taking up a small portion of one floor.
Yeah.
Handled the church. And then they had all the rest of this facility. So what were a couple of things they did with this facility?
Well, I mean, the one thing that was really interesting, because they had Wi-Fi, and they told us how to get on the Wi-Fi, but I struggled the whole time to ever get connected to the Wi-Fi.
Yes.
But then they came to tell us, like, well, it really depends on like where you physically are. Like, you could scoot over 5 feet and get connected.
Boom.
And then scoot another 2 feet and not ever be able to connect. Because that building, again, was built for a lot of keeping secrets, I'm guessing. So very secure building, brick and steel reinforcements.
They talked about how certain areas, the present cafeteria.
The cafeteria where we ate our lunch was probably labs of some kind.
There's secret labs.
Yeah, secret labs. But here's the thing that just, I mean, I think I've been in a building or two where a gymnasium is not on the bottom level of the
Yep.
building.
Mm-hmm.
But what fascinated me about their gymnasium, which is not on the bottom level, it's on the second floor.
Yeah.
Their gymnasium, which is a very nice gymnasium, was like, it was not originally built for a gymnasium. Like, there was just more rooms and
Yeah.
walls, and they jacked up the ceiling, they opened the space, and they're able to build that inside of their second floor. And let me tell you, I'll throw this out there too. They had one of the coolest things that I've ever seen in my life in that gymnasium.
Well, you go ahead and say it. And we got to remind everybody that Matt's wife is Jenny.
My wife
Jenny
is Jenny.
Played collegiate volleyball, NCAA
Played,
level.
coached. Yeah.
Coach collegiate volleyball.
She
was on a championship winning team.
Oh, yeah.
And
she's
amazing.
Yeah.
She's got a heart for it and has trained in and has swum in deep volleyball-ish waters.
Sure. And she coaches our volleyball team. She's our athletic director.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have a gym. And we've run into many issues when it comes to volleyball, and we're, planning on building. And of course, as I get an opportunity to see another gym, taking notes, seeing what we can do, what we can add. Well, I'm telling you, I took a big note from Abundant Life, because I'm sure you have seen, interacted with the retractable basketball hoops, very common in a lot of gymnasiums. Have you ever seen a retractable volleyball net?
I had never.
I have never seen that.
I had never.
Just like the ceiling one's basketball, but it's a volleyball net. In fact, the volleyball poles don't even touch the ground.
Yep.
It's suspended. And there's also a ref stand connected to it, also suspended. To me, was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I mean, when it comes to volleyball, because
sure.
Volleyball is pretty straightforward, but yeah, I thought just having the inserts in your floor to connect to poles in was the coolest thing ever. You can't get better than that. Nope, I was wrong.
And you have, you talk about the longevity of the net, which, by the way, if you're paying for that system,
yeah,
the longevity of your nets probably is not highest on your list, but it is my favorite part of that was seeing all of the padding around it, including this little, not quite cargo net, but very small ladder that the referee would have to climb up to get into his or her stand.
Yep.
That again was off of the floor by a foot or so. So the first rung of the ladder never would have touched the floor as it came down. Just incredible space. And I was moved by the way in which the physical structure of the building had to be manipulated. At one point, Mr. John Kubler discussed how they had to suction cup the steel rafters to the ceiling, which I then made fun of the entire rest of the conversation, because I don't want to think about standing in that building if someone had suction cupped steel. And I'm sure if that's actually what happened, it was some industrial grade, considered engineering feat that is common unto these buildings. I had never heard of that, so we'll leave it up to those of you who know. Incredible how they would have, removed structure, moved supports, and created all of this space for their basketball and their gymnasium. So quite incredible.
Yeah.
Not only that, of course, but then they have a monstrous chapel and a monstrous worship center and the different office space. They had an elevator, a freight elevator, which still is in use. And Mr. Kubler was he was a member of the church in the youth group. That's where he got saved, where he came to the Lord, where he turned his life over to Jesus, and where he then came back and started teaching after he got his education degree, and he's been there ever since. He's on pastoral staff, and with that sort of legacy, you hear the history, and you can hear, I'm sure, plenty of stories about how he had gotten caught on that freight elevator,
stuck.
This is not a review of the association educators conference anymore. We should move on. But the building itself,
it was impressive,
unique. Not a lot of green space, but massive parking lot, and then just a massive, intriguing building, but a sign of God's blessing. A sign of God's blessing on the Italian Pentecostal church. He mentioned to us, originally, in 1919, there was an Italian evangelist who came to America and who started a congregation, and being anything other than Catholic and Italian was to be something lesser than, and to be problematic, and to be, looked down on, and come up against. So they just put it out there for everybody here. We are the Italian Pentecostal Church, and they were in I suppose they were in that Pentecostal denomination for quite some time. He mentioned more recently they're with the Assemblies of God denomination, but I'm not sure if they're actually a part of the AG. In any case, obviously God's hand of blessing there on that Christian school, and very interesting history to get to where they are today with the students they've had. I read a senior class, a graduating senior class of 38 was a high water mark for them. So quite incredible.
Yeah.
Abundant Life Christian Academy. Thanks for hosting.
Yeah.
Wonderful opportunity. Great to see somebody else's space, to hear, what our issues are versus their issues. I remember another administrator coming to Faith Baptist and saying, man, you guys got so much land around you. It's amazing. You go outside and breathe, take a deep breath, and where we are, there's just no space. And even if we wanted to build, we couldn't build, and all this stuff. And so we look at our issues and we look at their issues, and we all have issues. And that's part of why you should get together.
Yeah.
Go back to our theme, get together at an educators conference. One of the reasons you would get together at an educators conference would be to go and to hear workshop presenters. Now, come to find out, we were prepared to present workshops, but Mr. Stevens had struck us from the list, or not struck us, but we had never been on the list.
We were never on the list.
To speak.
Forgot about it.
Which we didn't know, but that's fine. But then we overheard that one of his speakers was not going to be able to make it, and it was because she had gone to the wrong Abundant Life.
Yeah, which we almost did. Like when I was plugging in the address at your house at 4 a.m.
Yeah, 4 a.m. We're sitting in my driveway. I'm like,
wait a minute, this doesn't look right. And so I picked the other one, and thankfully it was the other one.
We're sitting in my driveway at 4 a.m. I'm like, why aren't we just getting on 13 North? Because we live on a peninsula.
Yeah, there's a little.
You go north, south, or west. Like going east, you're gonna be submarining at some point. Going west, okay, that's gonna get you west. North will take you. But I knew we're going to New York City. Like you got to go up. Go north, young man. Go north. And so we were sitting there, and it was like, no, because there's a couple of Abundant Lives. And then I started doing my bit of address searching, and yes, he was not wrong. So I was rebuked to some extent. I still like, hey, just start driving. We'll figure it out. But anyway, got to get the move on. So she missed the first session because she was actually like an hour and a half away until she showed up and realized that she was on the right spot, and she drove back. So we overheard that, and I said, hey, Bill, we wouldn't mind stepping in with one of the workshops that we have prepared. And he's like, that would be great. And so we wound up picking the cell phone block workshop because, of course, it's about technology, and the theme of the conference is on technology. And so we went down to the classroom, and much like the first classroom at the first MACSA conference, it was a little bit hard to find. Yeah. Not that there wasn't a map for it, but just because in the school you're looking for a space. And I don't know why in schools we always I'm sure to someone the numbering system makes sense, but it is not. It is very infrequent that the numbering system is intuitive to guests.
Yeah.
Very infrequently is it easy to say, oh, I'm going to 326B. Oh, yeah, it's right. That makes sense to be on the third floor and to be this and to be that. Like, it's not often that case. We just get used to the numbers that were passed down to us. We should do an episode on numbering rooms.
That's a good thought.
Like, we absolutely should. That's it.
Because I probably need to redo mine.
Buildings,
about it.
Well, the buildings have these add-ons, and you add on to that building, and what used to be room 1 now is used like as a coat closet. Yeah. Room 26 is the first room you walk into. Yes, that deserves an episode. Anyway, so we get to our room. We're not really expecting anybody to be there because Mr. Stevens had gone ahead and announced that there was a change made, and so we were the only workshop to actually have our name announced, which was kind of cool.
That was pretty cool.
But other than that, they wouldn't have, unless they were listening, which at that point maybe fewer were because they'd been sitting for a while, or they'd already decided on where they wanted to go. Unless they were listening and willing to adjust to our workshop, they weren't going to come. So we get to our workshop, and we set up, and we're talking, and someone shows up. Wouldn't you know it? Somebody shows up.
Somebody come. And we're like, what room are you looking for?
Yeah.
Is this room 6? We're like, oh, you are looking for this room.
Looking for us. This is amazing. And what did she say? She said, hey, well, I had heard you guys before.
Yeah.
So I was interested in coming to hear you talk.
Yeah.
At that point, I fainted.
You heard us on the pod.
At that point, I just fell out and fainted. No, it was officially the fourth person. It was the fourth person to recognize us in the wild.
In the wild.
I was immediately if I had any thoughts of like, oh, this is a long way, or I was immediately rebuked. It was such a blessing to be able to then conversate with Jennifer, the secondary principal at Hawthorne Christian Academy in New Jersey, for basically the entire hour. When you have one person, and we had more than one person show up, but it wasn't right away. So we threw out our usual workshop.
Just started conversing.
We just started having conversation about cell phones in her school and what works and what doesn't and all the rest of it. And it was a great time. We're going to talk through our workshops coming up here in a little bit. And we have our vision workshop and our cell phone workshop and we've been doing the principles timeline, so we won't do that one again. But we'll talk through our workshops in episodes to come here in the near future. But we talked to Jennifer. Well, as we were speaking to Jennifer, several other people walked in. Most notably, we had the workshop presenter that we were replacing.
Yeah.
She walked in, right?
Yeah.
And she came and got her bearings and she entered the conversation. But then Mr. Kubler came and joined us. And it was so good to hear from him and to hear what was going on at his school. And he also had heard of us.
He purposed to come see us because he was listening to the pod.
There we go. Number 4 and 5, recognized in the wild for the 4th and 5th time. We got a picture with them.
Yep.
Picture with Jennifer, picture with John afterwards. And again, just a blessing. He was late because he had to do some actual logistical work there at the school because he was one hosting, of course.
Yep.
But great time. And once again, what stuck with us and what we know will stick with anybody looking for a reason to go to these conferences, the people. The people are what will stick with you when you go to these conferences. Why do I need to go? It's better for me to be at school. No, be there. Be with God's people.
I will say an interesting feature that the MACSA conference, the 2 conferences had this year, Bill is really focused on getting people connected and meeting face to face and having conversations. And so he purposed in both of these conferences to have 2 different sessions of facilitated discussions. And even that word facilitated, I think, was just kind of like maybe a throwaway word because I know there were definitely people leading the discussions, but the intention of it was just, you face problems within middle school. Well, get yourself in a room with other middle school teachers and put it out there, see if anybody else is dealing with it, because they probably are, and have a conversation about it. And I was very interested to find out because in both conferences, the last thing to occur was a facilitated discussion. And so I kept wondering, I was like, how many people are just going to take off?
Dip out,
because they already had one. I was surprised to see quite a few, like that was, I don't know if I would say more interesting to them than the workshops, but definitely people were excited to sit down and have these discussions. And of
they
course,
stuck around for it.
I mean, you look around at lunchtime and people are talking too at that time. So really there's 3 discussion times that were built into those conferences that I thought were really helpful.
Absolutely. And something that we don't otherwise see. Literally scheduled out. 3rd grade teachers are meeting here. 4th grade teachers are meeting here. 5th grade teachers are meeting here. It moved me to consider for the Maryland State Maryland Association of Christian Schools to start at the very least, an opportunity for a group of email addresses that I find are of the 3rd grade teachers to go ahead and send
chat
out.
room.
Yeah, chat room. No, not a chat room.
AOL chat room.
You have to be able to leave the chat and come back to it like an email. But at the very least, something as simple as getting an email thread every year together of all the association's 3rd grade teachers started. So they have that in their back pocket as a value add to the organization. I thought it was lovely. Again, good job, Bill, on stressing, getting people together, and then getting the people together and listening when people say, you know what, the workshops, the keynotes, they're great, but it would be nice to actually have give and take. Wonderful. Great. Loved it. The food, once again, not unimpressed with the food. So if you're just looking for a time, you don't have to, you're willing to pay and to drive to have somebody else feed you and to look after your learning, go to one of these conferences. Absolutely. The opportunity we had to pass out items, to talk to people, to meet the other vendors. We mentioned last time we had one of these reviews that speaking with the other vendors was useful.
Mhm.
We had a similar exhibitor lineup that we had the first time around, which is to be expected. So some we were waving at, saying hi to the second time. But we were also able to then we stepped in to eat lunch after the line had died down because that's what administrators do. And sure enough, the other the administrator of Abundant Life,
Mhm.
John, he sat down with us, and that is the second time in our MACSA conference experiences now that we have had conversations with somebody that went way longer than they were supposed to, quote unquote, but that were such a blessing. And I'll walk away, and we should close this up, but I'll walk away saying that again, back to our theme of get involved with a face-to-face educators conference somewhere that your school can be a part of, that you can be a part of personally. Talking with him was such a blessing
Yeah.
to poke fun, to be sarcastic, to not cry with him, but to hear of God's blessing on the church, on his life, on his family, on how this has been the ministry he's been out now since before 1999. All of those things, and just to laugh together with him, to all of that was wonderful as we were sitting at elementary fold-out cafeteria tables on these little circle seats that hurt my bum, for real. But it was awesome.
It
And
was
he
great.
sat there and gave us all that time. We don't deserve
I
that time
loved
from
it.
him, but it was great. So we'll be shouting him out in the near future. But as I said, in the immediate time, we also heard from his assistant principal, Miss Kay Chapman.
Mhm.
And right now we should go ahead and actually
Let's
offer
do
up a
it.
prayer for Kay, because Kay is going to be our Christian Administrator Spotlight at Abundant Life Christian Academy there in Nutley, New Jersey.
Miss Chapman is the principal at Abundant Life, while Mr. Kubler is the superintendent.
And that is the new lineup
Yes.
from what they were.
Yeah, she was the assistant, and
which
now
was
she's just
the
full blown.
Yep, and he was the principal, and they both took a step up. He changed offices. She took his, I think it was, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But Matt, why don't you go ahead and pray for Kay?
Father, thank you so much for the opportunity we had to meet Kay and John, but Kay specifically, and just what stood out to me is her enthusiasm for education, for the students there at Abundant Life, and just the excitement that she had to impart wisdom and lead in that, and even in this newer role of principal. I just pray that you would continue to support her and whatever needs she might have in the year ahead. Even if she has personal needs, Lord, I just pray that you would bring about the support and the resources that will help her to continue to shine there as a servant for you. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Well, I don't know as though we really have much more to say about the MACSA conference that hasn't already been said under the theme of get yourself to it.
Yeah.
Make sure you are attending one of these conferences, especially if you are a school that's already paying to be a part of an association that has a conference. Give your conference a shot. If you haven't ever given it a shot before, try it out, because we have yet to be at a conference that has seen 100% of its membership show up for their conference.
Yeah.
So it stands to reason that perhaps you're in a school that is part of a conference that you haven't tapped in a while, or you should be looking at. Give it a shot, see what happens, and bless others. Even better yet, go and present a workshop yourself. Volunteer to be a leader, volunteer to share something about your school that has made your school stronger, and see what could make Christian education stronger around you as well. I would want to give a call to action here for you to get onto our YouTube channel. Don't tell me you don't get on YouTube. I know you are on YouTube. I have like 4 profiles
I'm on YouTube
right now. Everybody's on YouTube.
I'm
So
on
please stop by our Christian Principles podcast channel, wherever you are on YouTube, and hit subscribe. Please do that. Please just do us that little favor. Stop by our YouTube channel.
Don't even have to watch a video. Just subscribe.
Don't watch a video. Get us to 100. Get us to 100 subscribers. We'd be pumped to be there. We pumped to get that, even if you don't usually watch us on YouTube. But maybe you would like to, because I want to see these smiling faces. In any case, thanks for growing with us today.
We want to thank you for listening. We're honored that you spend this time with us each week. Our heart is to bring you practical conversations and resources that really serve you as a Christian school leader.
One of the best ways you can help us spread the word is by leaving us a review and sharing the podcast with other Christian school principals you're connected with. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join the conversation and share any posts that resonate with you. Every share makes a difference in helping more leaders find encouragement and practical tools. And remember, the podcast is just one way we help. We also love serving schools through speaking and workshops. Our keynotes and sessions are designed to give you actionable strategies you can take back to your team and implement right away. If you'd like more details, just send us an email at info@christianprinciplespodcast.com. We'd love to connect. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Christian Principles Podcast.